Welcome in everybody to a Tuesday night edition of the Joe Quill Show. I'm Joe, and got your typical typical Tuesday stack of stories, and also Tuesday stack of shit too. But anyways, we're here. It's Tuesday night, and um, I can't talk straight. So, going to be an interesting night to say the least. So, hope everybody's doing well out there as we get through Tuesday night here and we get one day closer to the weekend here. Another weekend where I will be off from work. Yay. So, a lot of stuff going on here. Um, we're going to talk about the end of the poop games. We'll talk about that. Some Eagles talk here from DC and also from Indianapolis. Uh, the the Ravens talked about Justin Tucker today, or at least I think it was today. Might have been yesterday. And probably one of the greatest female basketball players, Diana Taurasi, retired. Usually we begin with. Normally we would begin with that because she is such an iconic player. Um, right now she's the greatest female player, winning 6 gold medals and all that, and, we could go through all the stuff with her with all going all the way back to UConn and all that, but usually we do that at the beginning, but we're gonna save it to the end. We're gonna use it as a sorbet after the little story here right before near the end, but I do have to talk about one thing here, and I'm gonna find this here so I can give you a reference of what I mean by poop games. And the thing that sucks is we won't have this on our screens this year. And I don't know if there's a change.org thing that's out there right now, um but unfortunately no more poop games. And there you go. Right there for you to see. That's what we would have on our local broadcast here in Philadelphia, where we would have um POOP P00P. So it's the poop games. But we have to give NBC Sports Philly one of those. And I don't think that they intentionally did this. It was just that they were upgrading their graphics over the course of the year with the Sixers and the Flyers. And the Phillies are always last with these new graphics because usually these graphics change in October or right after the Philly season. So, it does happen, but uh we found out about this on Sunday. And so there is a new score bug this year. And now hopefully you'll be able to see this here. I might have to zoom in on it a couple 100%, but um so they had their first TV game on Sunday. And there you go. There you see it. So you don't see you don't see um, the Orioles logo on there or the Phillies P on there anymore. You see BAL and PHI. So the poop games are no more when Pittsburgh comes here in May and we go out there in June. So unfortunately, the poop games are no more. Now, I saw this on numerous sites, and also numerous Philly sports centric groups. And we were all mourning the loss of the poop games, but I don't think I don't think they did that on purpose. It was just, hey, we need to refresh this look. and that's probably what they did. So I don't think it has anything to do with us talking about poop all the time when Pittsburgh and Philly plays. But it does appear that that the poop games are no more. Um, I mean, but then again, we had a preview of this with the Flyers and also the Sixers because they were going with PHI for Philadelphia and whatever code they would use for example, Pittsburgh, because the Flyers just scored again on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Um, Flyers are up 6-1 right now. Um, you don't have any more poop games. You had BAL and PHI yesterday on Sunday, so you don't have that anymore. Um, Now there is a possibility we could get a score. Well, I'm going to have to share my screen again because I didn't plan on this. It does appear, it does appear we could get a poop game there with this graphic, but I got to share my screen here. So it's possible we could get a poop score, a poop board right there, but I didn't watch the game Sunday because I was doing other things. So obviously I didn't get to see this. I don't know when exactly this comes on at the top of the third. I guess when they're coming back from commercial. So um, so it appears the poop games are done. We may get that graphic, but hopefully nobody scores until they show that in the third inning. If that's going to be a third inning staple. Um, but it's not as bad as the Eagles Chief score bug that Fox had. So I don't think it's that bad. It's just that one of the fun things we like to talk about is not happening anymore, and that's a poop game. So no more poop games for now, though we may have that vertical scoreboard in the top of the third. Just to note what Crossing Broad was saying here, um, but but it's not as bad as the Fox one that they had for the Super Bowl. Um, but it's that time of the year. You know, I'm sure other teams have had other score bugs redesigned and stuff like that. So, but I don't think it's. I mean, it's not that big of a deal to me, but it. It's. I mean, it's. I could turn it into a running joke. Hey, it's the poop games. Now we can't do that anymore. But um, it's but I guess we could still call it the poop games in our hearts, even though we won't be having an actual poop game with Pittsburgh in the near future, unless one of those games end up on either. Well, could happen on Fox, maybe on Fox, maybe on Apple TV. I don't know. We'll see. But thought I forgot to mention that last night, and yeah, Mike and I would have been going on a 20-minute thing joking around about poop and stuff like that. So, but no more poop games. So now, with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, they get the honor of going to the White House. And if I'm not mistaken, it started with Jimmy Carter back in the 70s. So I saw this online today. I saw it a couple different places. I got it from Yahoo Sports. Looking for a couple different stories here, and it looks like the door is open for the Philadelphia Eagles to visit the White House this year. Now, I'm not sure if bygones are bygones. I'm a little wary about, maybe Trump says, "Well, you guys in 2018 or blah blah blah," whatever. Um, but he was speaking with reporters on Tuesday, and how this got brought up, I'm not sure. Um, Donald Trump confirmed the Eagles would be extended an invitation to go to the White House, praised their performance against the Chiefs on Super Bowl 59, and then requested a staffer to take care of the invitation. Now, a lot of a lot of Philly centric pages on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else, they were saying that the Eagles were going to decline it. Well, you can't decline it if you don't get an invite to begin with, but it does appear that the Eagles will accept it if they are formally granted it. Um, 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 Donald Trump said they will be invited. We haven't yet, but we will be. Although it was a great performance by them, and absolutely they'll be extended an invitation. Would you do that right away? By the way, we'll do it right. We'll do it right away. We're going to do it sometime today. They deserve to be down here, and we hope to see them, or something to that effect. I don't know how good or bad my Trump impression is, but I hope it's horrible because I'd rather do Bill Clinton. I did not inhale, but she did not swallow. But uh, but um, the Eagles have already said that they will go if they're invited, and that was within the last couple of days as well. Um, there is a history between the team and the president, though, and not just because he picked the Chiefs to win because he liked Patrick Mahomes and his wife Brittany. Um, Now, during the first term, a lot of teams did not go to visit, and truthfully, I'm torn on this because I'm like, it's an honor to meet the president, but a lot of the things that he's doing and blah blah blah. Um, and I saw some people today saying, some people that are right wing nut jobs, and there are left wing nut jobs too. I try to stay as close to the middle as possible. A lot of the right wing nut jobs are saying, well, they shouldn't get the opportunity because they turned him down in 2018 and blah blah blah. Well, here's something I have to say to remind the Republicans because they will only look at one fact, they won't look at the whole picture. And this is me trying to be as close to the middle, being objective here. If I'm not mistaken, there were several people. If it wasn't Biden, it was Obama, where a couple of the players said, "Well, I don't like his policies. I'm not going to the White House." So, and I'm pretty sure Jake Arrieta was one of them when he was with the Cubs. So I'm pretty sure there have been a few players that when there was a Democrat in the office, they said, "No, I don't like his policies. I'm not going." I mean, I think, see, this is where you get into that tough area where it's like, with everything that's going on, with everything he's doing with Greenland and Canada and God knows what else, and Ukraine and all the different shit that he's doing, you know, the tough part is the tough part to me is, do you just go and suck it up that he's the president and you don't like his policies, but do you get into this? Well, I don't like your policies, Mr. President, but you're still the president, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. I mean, but the worst part is, if you think about it, the way that his mindset is, you know, if you do say, "Hey, I don't like your policies, but I do respect you as a president, blah, blah, blah," does he go off on you because, "Oh, you're just speaking the truth?" I mean, the people spoke last November, but, you know, I think that a lot of them that are going to that would go here, and I guess almost all of them. I think it's okay. Well, we can put down the fact that Trump was against everybody who was kneeling and sitting for the anthem, and in a way, I get why Trump was against it. But when it comes to me and me trying to be in the middle where the right will say that, "Oh, you're leaning too far left," and the left will say, "Oh, you're leaning too far right." I admit that I didn't like it either. I didn't like that Colin Kaepernick was actually sitting before he was told to kneel. I didn't like that other players were kneeling or, even in the locker room. But I understood the locker room part of it because, you're not going to make a scene, you're not going to piss off the president, but you're actually pissing him off even more because you're not on the field. But the thing is, and when you got a bunch of your cult, as I'll call them, you got your cult and you say something that is totally outrageous, everybody starts running with it. It could be even me telling a 5-year-old kid, "Hey kid, mommy doesn't like this person or that person." And then he goes around, "Hey, I heard mommy doesn't like this person," stuff like that, and it snowballs. So so when you had that snowball effect, that's why we got into why we're in this I will say a 15-year run from whenever he first announced he was running for the presidency till January 20th, 2029, that he has so much, you know, he can say something that's so off the wall, but guess what? If Trump says it, it's true. Now I can tell you one thing. I may not think that what Trump says is true, but I'm not but when Biden was president, I didn't believe half the shit he said was true either. I think in my case, and I'm, breaking my rule about no politics, but since this is the Eagles going to Washington, allegedly, I might as well talk about it. You know, what I personally feel about some issues are to myself, and I'm not going to go into those individual topics. But a lot of what they do here, a lot of these, um, you know, like for example, Trump wants to finish the wall. Okay. But the thing is, I will tell you that probably most people that lean left won't say is there a problem on that southern border? Yeah. Do I know exactly what it is? No, I need to educate myself more. And that's a problem, another problem with America, education in general. But the fact that you can just, you know, the fact that we had these issues and the fact that I feel like Biden could have gone after Greg Abbott, the Texas governor, because he was trafficking people to um, all these cities. Whatever the term is, the term's escaping me. But I guarantee, if I wasn't brain dead right now from working today, I probably. Uh, but I just think that there's so much bullshit from both sides of the aisle that when you want to try to sit there in the middle and you're just going to get crushed by both sides. It's kind of like the Karate Kid. Stand on this side, okay. Stand on this side, okay. Stand in the middle, or something to that effect. But you know, it seems like Trump is more receptive to the NFL now. I mean, he was even at the Super Bowl. Now, I doubt that he would have been in San Francisco because that's a blue state. I just think it was the convenience of the fact that Louisiana is a red state and he was at Daytona after that, which Florida is a red state. I just think that's cool. I mean, I think it's more than just coincidence. That's just me. I just think that you have to realize that sometimes you got to read these tea leaves a little bit more than what you're reading into them. But if the Eagles go, so be it. If they don't go, so be it. You know, be interesting to see how he reacts to the Eagles being there. One, because they beat the team that he was rooting for because of Patrick and Brittany Mahomes and their kid Golden Showers. I mean Golden. Um, you got so much here. Um, and there, I mean, I'm thinking that the bygones are bygones for the most part because nobody's kneeling, nobody's sitting, nobody's hiding in the locker room. You know, you don't have any of that stuff that was happening between 2017 and 2021 when he was in office the first time. So, um, Eagles were one of the many teams that clashed with Trump over a White House visit during his first administration. There was talk of setting up the visit, but Trump first announced it was rescinding the invitation, with Trump himself claiming it was due to the teams remaining in the locker room during the national anthem, back when that was one of the NFL's most contentious issues. But the thing is, there were no known instances of players remaining in the locker room or taking knees or anything like that. Um, but the thing is with that, you know, but the thing is with trick photography, and I know I saw this before, and I remember seeing a couple of people doctoring photos of Zach Ertz, for example, and a couple other Eagles back then in that time frame. Oh, Zach Ertz took a knee. Uh, Look at the photo again. That's at the 15-yard line. When they line up for the anthem, they're usually lined up in the white area where their benches are. They don't line up like that. So, and of course, the ones that are familiar with football and are there at the start of the game, as opposed to coming in late because they're tailgating and shit like that. Um, but but back in 2018, the Eagles had only planned to send a small contingent with five or fewer players, and that most, if not all, the team's black players opted out. That was in 2018. Um, Now, Trump's White House continued to double down, saying the Eagles abandoned their fans while Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey, who was a Democrat, invited the team to Congress for an alternative event. So, but you only have a couple of guys who are left on that team from that first team. You have Lane Johnson, the right tackle, Brandon Graham. We don't know if he's coming back next year or not because he was retiring. Then he's says, "Oh, I don't know." Jake Elliott and Jake Lovato. Jake Lovato could long snap until he's 75 if he really wanted to, because the way that they protect the long snapper. And Jake Elliott was a little shaky, but he actually stepped up to the task and scored the most points by a kicker in Super Bowl history with 16. I mean, Jeffrey Lurie remains obviously, but um, now originally during Super Bowl week he declined to say if the Eagles would go to the White House because let's win the game first before we decide. Um, but it was later reported the Eagles were indeed open to making the trip. And I don't know about you, um, because, there have been people that have opted not to go to the White House for whatever reason, even if it is somebody who leans right during the Obama administration. So, and I'm sure there's other cases as well that were not, for example, illness related. So, or a family emergency or anything like that. Because no matter what you think of that leader, whether he leans left, whether he leans right, whether he's personable, whether he's a total asshole, whether he's a tyrant, whatever it is, you may never have an opportunity to meet with the leader of your country again. But the one thing is, you do have a lot of players on that team who probably do lean right. I imagine Lane Johnson does because he's from Oklahoma. And there's a lot of players who, because they make a shit ton of money, they want to protect their money and make sure they have to pay a shit ton of taxes. They will do what they can as well. But um, and the one thing I will say to people is, even though this is usually a politics free zone, I will say this to you guys. If you have a half decent thought about why you're voting to the right or practicing what they believe in or to the left, if you can if you can put a thought together that makes sense, I'm okay with it, even though I don't agree with the overall policy of one party over another party. Because you know what? It may be I may not like what's on the right, but I may not like what's on the left either. So, but the good thing is with most political spectrums or political offices or whatever, unlike the city of Philadelphia, which has been Democrat for about 70 some years, democracy works for the most part. And this is a poli sci comment here, not a political. The the politics is working when you have one party holding the office for 4 or 8 years, and then the other party gets to hold it for 4 or 8 years and goes back and forth and back and forth. Not just because, Like, for example, you have what happened in Philadelphia over the last 70 some years where it's been Democrat after Democrat after Democrat. And probably that would have been broken in the late 80s with Frank Rizzo, but he died running for office. So you do have all that, but you just need to realize that maybe things just aren't what they should be, or things aren't what you think or anything like that. But you know do I agree with everything that Donald Trump is doing? No. It's not because my political affiliation is Democrat, and I'm sure there's a lot of Republicans that do not agree with what he's doing either, and I'm sure there's Democrats that agree with what Trump's doing. It's just the way America is. But if the Eagles want to go to the White House, it's not going to change how I feel about the Eagles. It's just and if individual players don't want to go, that's fine too. I couldn't care less if they don't go or not. But I think um, as long as um, the president doesn't trash the Eagles, I'd be okay with it. If he trashes the Eagles, then we're going to vent on social media. But truthfully, who cares? You know. But I just find it interesting that they're going to offer that. But I think we are going to see over the next 4 years, we are going to see some athletes or some teams saying, "Fuck you, Mr. President," something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised either way. But hopefully, we do have um, in a way, I hope we do have a visit to DC. Um, Philly doesn't win many championships, but when we do, it's something like what happened in uh, in New Orleans, and hopefully they they get their proper respect here, and who knows, maybe we get a gasp apology over 2018, but probably not. But you know, just the fact that he's saying congratulations to the Eagles in person is enough for me. Whether you agree with his politics or not, I think we can have an hour or two where he's not uh, leaning to the left on things, leaning to the right. It's okay. You don't have to campaign. Actually, you shouldn't be campaigning because you don't have a job to campaign for once 20 January 2029 comes around. Okay, you retire, even though you'll be running your business and whatever the hell else you're going to be doing. So, but so Eagles are apparently going to the White House. Apparently, Trump invited them. We'll just see when the exact date is and who pisses who off, and then it all goes to shit. So, so we found out last night, and it was confirmed today, that the Green Bay Packers, those pussies, and Brian Gutekunst, the general manager, um, asked that the tush push be banned. We talked about it last night, me and Mike, and we're basically on the same wavelength here. If you can't stop it, there's there's nothing you can do. Just because the Eagles do it and nobody else does it, their success rate, then maybe it's more than just the players. It's actually the coaches teaching them properly and things like that. Um, but but Nick Sirianni in Indianapolis today for the scouting combine, he did his part to shove back, like that choice of words, on some of the growing narratives around the play. Sirianni called it a little unfair that some are angling to have the play banned because it's highly successful in Philadelphia. adding it the idea that it's an automatic play is a little insulting. And so many things can go wrong. And the thing is, I do not think the Eagles have really shown the different things that they can do with that play. Like, I mean, once in a while they pitch to the halfback on the side where instead of going for the push, he wheels his way out. Um, I've seen on YouTube, and I mentioned it last night, the the quarterback will make it look like he's going to push. He steps back, and by the time he steps back, the tight end has about six steps on the defensive backs, and boom, touchdown. We haven't seen that from the Eagles, but we do have um, a team that does it well because they do it time after time after time. And it's more than just the offensive line. It's also the fact that, you know, and I'll admit it, Jalen Hurts, who bench press deadlifted 600 pounds in college, he probably doesn't need the help, but he gets it. I think it's more the offensive line than it's anything else. But yeah, it does happen from time to time. But um, but it's not an automatic play. I think it got some bad reviews because Frankie Louvu decided to jump over the line twice, 2 or 3 times. And that's when Sean Hockley said, "Well, if this happens again, we have the right to call a touchdown." What? But it is in the rules. But I just think that if you're going to rule against, I mean, but I mean, the only reason why, and I said this last night, the only reason why is when you get that close to the end zone and you're continually doing the same thing, the reason why the touchdown comes into play is because guess what? You're moving millimeters, and actually, it may be that you're trying to push it forward 6 millimeters, but you're actually pushing it back 6 millimeters. And that's the only part of the field where, oh, half the distance to the goal is like zero. So what can we do as a result? Oh, let's give them a touchdown. If it happens at midfield, well, it's a 5-yard penalty and it's 1st and 10. There's a whole different scenario here. It's just that there's nowhere to move the ball when you're that close to the goal line, in my opinion. Um, Sirianni said, "I can tell you how many times we practice." As my phone goes off, how many times we practice a snap? We practice the play. It's not a play that's easy to practice. No shit. So there's different ways we figured out how to practice it. The compliments that come off of it, that it can create explosive plays. And I don't think we've seen some of the other things that you can do with this tush push or brotherly shove or hinding over to liney. Um, the fact is that it's portrayed as an automatic thing. We work really hard. Our guys are talented at this play. And so it's a little insulting to say we're good at it, so it's automatic. It's the it's it's the offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland. We work really hard. Yeah, they do. And you also got an assistant coach who works with the offensive line who knows how to coach his players and knows how to get it done and teach them properly. As I'm peeking at my phone here for a second. So now Tuesday, Brian Gutekunst confirmed that his team made a proposal to ban the play. Outgoing Packers president Mark Murphy said in a Q&A on the Packers website posted earlier this month that the play was bad for the game. Uh, is it bad for the game because you can't stop it? Because you got beat twice by the Eagles, once in Brazil, once in the playoffs? Is that why it's not good for the game? Throwing 60 times a game is not good for the game, but we're throwing the ball more and more. I mean, what's next? We gonna ban running plays altogether because the Eagles are good at that too? Are we gonna ban all quarterback sneaks now because quarterback might get hurt? Um, but the owners could vote on this proposal next month at the annual meeting in Palm Beach, Florida, unless the team decides to withdraw its proposal. Now, in order, if the proposal goes to a vote, 24 to 32 owners would have to vote in favor to pass it. Now, I don't know if there's 32, I don't know if there's 24 votes that would go against it. We know Green Bay will vote against it. And also, uh, Raheem Morris said today that he would vote to ban the play. Sean McDermott, who's the Bills coach, he probably will vote for it because of the fact that they run it almost as much as the Eagles. Um, he said there's always been an injury risk with that play and that the techniques used have been potentially contrary to the health and safety of the players. But does the NFL really care about the players' health? No. That's why they won an 18th game because it's all about money. Money trumps health, sadly. Now, the thing is, if you don't know how to run the play, that's where you get hurt. Like we talked about Chris Jones, he was lined up and he was facing a fellow defensive lineman on the play, thinking, "Oh, this will stop them." Well, he hurt his neck because he was actually facing the wrong way. Bad fundamentals. That's what it was. Now, Nick Sirianni said, "I think if you look at that, because we looked into it too, there wasn't a lot of injuries there. I think that's a little made up, to be honest. Now, the numbers will tell the truth, but I don't think there was many injuries with it this year. I can't remember one injury we had on that play, and we ran it more than anybody else. I mean, the only injury I really remember off the top of my head, because I was laughing my ass off about it, was the New York Giants 2 years ago tried to run it on opening night, and two guys got hurt on the same play in typical Giants fashion. So, if but to play devil advocates to Nick Sirianni's devil advocacy, don't you think that sometimes those injuries, you don't feel them until the next day? Like, for example, if you get into a car accident, you really don't feel it until the second day after for whatever reason. The second day hurts more than the first day. But also, in the terms of an NFL game, you got so much adrenaline going that, yeah, that adrenaline's blocking a lot of the pain that you have. Uh, but you got to realize that maybe a little bit has to do with the fact that if there's injuries, maybe they're just not teaching their players right. Because maybe part of the reason why the Eagles didn't really get hurt at all running that play was because Jeff Statlin knows how to coach. He knows what he has to do. He knows what his job is. He knows what his calling is. It's coaching the offensive line and coaching the running game, and he knows how to teach the fundamentals, plain and simple. Now, since 2022, the Eagles have run that play 108 times. Now, it's where a team lines up with one or more players behind the quarterback and push him forward against the defense, nearly twice as many as Buffalo at 55, and 92 more than the team with the third most attempts, Chicago, with 16. I think you got to have the players to do it too. And when you know something works, you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. You know, like if you look at the Phillies, now granted, it kind of wasn't the case for part of the year last year, but Nick Castellanos, how do you get him to strike out? Low and away slider, low and away slider, low and away slider. He chases it 99.9% of the time. I mean, that has a better success rate than the tush push. Tush push was about 85%. I'm sorry, it was 87% for the Eagles and Bills. The rest of the league is 71%. But I just think that some of these teams don't even want to try it. Like, for example, I understand why, why the Kansas City Chiefs wouldn't want to run it because the one time they ran a quarterback sneak, Patrick Mahomes dislocated his kneecap or whatever that knee injury was that he missed a couple of weeks a few years ago. But if you're going to, but you got to have the guys to do it. And the Eagles had the biggest offensive line. They probably had the most agile offensive line. Their quick offensive line, everything that you would say are the qualities that you need to run that play on the offensive line is what they're doing. So they're not doing it just for, just to run as many times as possible. The play works. And if the play works, you do it again. If it works again, you do it again. And even if it doesn't work, you're going to do it again because you have success more times than you don't. And once in a while, the defense gets lucky. But we don't do anything about a quarterback who's throwing at 75% completion rate all year. We don't do anything about that. I mean, are they going to ban Saquon Barkley from running the ball because he ran for over 2,000 yards this year? Are they going to ban all running plays by the quarterback? I mean, it's just a little bit picky, but I don't think, and the thing is, we see that there's two teams that would vote against this. Green Bay and Atlanta. You just need 6 more. And maybe because the Eagles won the Super Bowl, yeah, we got to get rid of it. That was the reason why they won. No, it wasn't. That was the reason why. If you want to go after their salary cap and say, was this salary cap really on the up and up? Even though it was, it's kind of like with Shohei Ohtani. Something that nobody did because the ball comes off his bat and sounds different. Just the way that the ball meets the bat or the bat meets the ball. After he hits a home run, I would tell the umpire, inspect that bat because his bats just sound when he crushes a ball, it just sounds different than everybody else's. And trust me, that's a topic that's been every spring and summer over the last couple of years on the Dan Patrick Show. But there's no reason to not ban it, or there's no reason to ban it. What's the next thing that happens? You're gonna ban a kid from getting an A because he's too smart. I mean, it's ridiculous what's going on here because if somebody is too successful doing something, you get rid of it. Come on. You know that the Eagles are going to start failing at this a little bit more with each passing year because of age and changing linemen and stuff like that. It's going to happen. But um, so I think they need to keep it. Um, you know, maybe there's players that are getting hurt, finger quotes, but I don't think it's that. I don't think it's season-ending, career-ending type injuries that everybody's saying is happening. It's not, but we'll see what happens with that. Now, I did see this today, and apparently, well, Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta actually talked about Justin Tucker here, which is a bit of a surprise considering a lot of what's going on here. Um, Now, Eric DeCosta said on Tuesday that the number of sexual misconduct allegations made against kicker Justin Tucker is serious and concerning, but the team will wait for determining his future before determining his future in Baltimore. Now, let me reread this first part so I can have a comment here, and if you want to clip it, feel free to do so. Ravens general manager Eric Costa said Tuesday that the number of sexual misconduct allegations made against kicker Justin Tucker is serious and concerning. No shit, Sherlock. I think even if it was just one, you would be concerned. But with every one that got added on top of it, where it started out with like 5 or 7, then there was 5 more, and there was a couple more, there's a couple more. The fact that there's 16, this is bordering on Deshaun Watson. And the one thing that I will tell you every time, especially when something like this occurs, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's 16 more. Do I know there's 16 more? No. But I'm just stating the fact that, this just may be the tip of the iceberg or the tip of his penis. No pun intended. But DaCosta said, I think we're fortunate that the league is doing an investigation. We'll wait as patiently as we can for as much information as we can, and we'll make our decision based on that. And the way the NFL does things, for the most part, they wait, they get all the information, they let it handle itself out in court, and then they suspend. Alvin Kamara a couple years ago got suspended for 3 or 4 games because a couple years ago when the Pro Bowl was in Vegas, he was going to a nightclub inside the Cromwell, and he punched somebody in the face in the elevator. So once they go in there, they do everything within the court system. Once everything is done, they know that there's nothing that's going to come up with this. The NFL then comes in and says 3 games. Because, and I said this to Mike, and he knows because I say it every once in a while, you know, if I'm wearing my redacted shirt or my redacted coat and I punch somebody, whether it's in self defense or not, because opinions are like body parts, everybody's got one. A certain body part, I should say. I just feel like when you're wearing that emblem, that logo, you don't have you don't have when you do that, you're even though you're off the clock, you're still representing that company. Now, hopefully, you don't have a twin that doesn't work at a company like Redacted Company, because if the twin wears it, then you got to say, well, when did that occur? Well, I was in the office here, so it wasn't me. He stole my coat. But um, but the one thing is, most companies have a code of conduct, and they expect you to behave on and off company time. Now, if you're an athlete, you're technically on the clock 24/7 because a lot of people will recognize you. I mean, God forbid if you're a basketball player, you're 7'4", you know, you stick out like a sore thumb. You get Alvin Kamara because he has the teeth, I believe. So he would stick out like a sore thumb too. Some players can kind of blend, but for the most part, football players and other athletes, you recognize them, you know that they play baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Well, maybe not hockey, but but you still get the idea. So you have that recognition in professional sports, unlike me, where let's say somebody attacks me on the corner, I punch them back, and the video starts right before I throw my first punch. Well, where's the 30 seconds before that when the guy who's harassed me and threw about 4 punches at me? Oh, you don't see that, do you? You don't see the shiner on my face, which, you don't want to put two and two together because the video only shows the first punch from me. And that's why when you ever have a viral video, I always ask what happened 15 to 30 seconds before that. Because two wrongs do not make a right, but four rights do get you back to point A for the most part. But this is the first time a Ravens official fielded questions about Tucker since these accusations surfaced 26 days ago. Now, so far, I'm using so far. They said in total in this article. I'm saying so far because I wouldn't be surprised if there's more. But that's just me. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's just these 16. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these were fabricated. But the thing is, like for example, with Trevor Bauer, we know something happened. Just because you're not indicted or anything like that in a court of law, we still know something happened. It's just that there may have been intimidation of the defendant. Who knows? But all that's in the past. But when it comes to this, 16 therapists from 8 high-end Baltimore area spas have made allegations against Tucker, according to the Baltimore Banner. And just like what I said with A-Rod, it wasn't the main Miami newspaper that got him into trouble. It was some newspaper that you never heard of before, and I couldn't tell you what the name of it was. I don't even know if the damn thing exists anymore. But either way, it seems a little strange that a paper like the Banner got the story. And I'm sure because they are a small paper, which means that they probably have very small budget. You know, you get sued, you're basically going bankrupt, I would think. You got to make sure that your facts are straight and your facts are correct because if they're not correct, that liable and that libel suit, bye bye Baltimore Banner. But these incidents occurred between 2012 and 2016, which were Tucker's first 5 seasons in the NFL. So yeah, he was probably between 22 and 27, somewhere in that range. A little horny, showing he has a tic tac for a dick. Girl rubbed him the right way, and he probably asked, "What do I get for $10?" And she said, "Anything you want." Anything? Anything. But anyways, um, John Harbaugh, the Ravens coach, said that the accusations against Tucker are not what you want to wake up and read. Now, I think Harbaugh's trying to be as neutral as possible here. Um, you know, I think he knows that, if something did happen, you know, let not to interfere with what's going on and just do whatever. Um, that's what we're waiting to try to do to reconcile this. That's what the process is for. That's why you have to come to an understanding if you can about what happened. I mean, it's not that hard, even though apparently he was, but I'm bummed. Um, it's why you have to understand if you can about what happened. We all got questions, but nobody knows exactly what happened. So let's see where the review takes us. And the thing is, and I will say this, and they say that there's two sides to every story. I will tell you there's three. There's his side, there's her side, and there's the actual truth. Because Tucker will deny it till the cows come home. The complainant, the defendant, will say that he did it and probably will fabricate a little bit more than what it was. And then there was that part that we will never find out, which is the actual truth, unless there were cameras in there. But um, so DeCosta was asked about the Ravens' zero tolerance policy on domestic violence, which Harbaugh referred to 3 years ago when asked about Deshaun Watson's 11-game suspension following accusations of sexual misconduct with massage therapists. DeCosta echoed what then Ravens president Dick Cass said in 2015, that there's no set policy and the team will look at each case individually. And, rightfully so. I mean, you got to let this run its course. We know something happened. We just got to see how true it is. Or are they mistaking Justin Tucker for another white guy? But you have to let the NFL run its course. That's what Houston did. That's what Cleveland did. You know, because remember, Deshaun Watson didn't play for a whole year because he kept being put on the inactive list. I mean, he didn't want to play in Houston either, but But DaCosta said he has spoken to the league and is not sure how long the NFL investigation will take because you never know. You might think that you're wrapping up this situation here. You're wrapping up your investigation, or you're about to say, well, Justin Tucker, 16 women, we're going to give him 9 games. And also note, when you're in a union shop, just like the NFL is, you take into account past practice and you also go with progressive discipline. Now, Deshaun Watson, I think, was around 30 women. I may be off by a few women there, but it's in that range. Tucker allegedly is at 16. Even that's a lot, even for a 5-year period. So, but the investigators from the NFL have been in Baltimore speaking with some of the women who have accused Tucker of sexual misconduct. Now, according to DaCosta, the Ravens were unaware of any allegations against Tucker until the Banner contacted them about an investigative piece on Tucker, which was later published on January 30th. Now, Now that hindsight is 2020, I ask this question, and if you want to respond to this, feel free to do so. Whether you're on the In the Bleachers YouTube, my YouTube, or on X, or on my Twitch. Now, granted, Justin Tucker is 35 years old. Now, all this happened in the first 5 years of his career, around 21 to 27, wherever those 5 years fall into place. My question is, actually, I don't know what my question was now. Um, because you got this investigation going on. Oh, I know what the question was. Was the decline that Tucker had this year, did he know that this story was going on and he was trying not to act like something was going on? And the reason why I say that is back in 2008, JC Romero, during the World Series, was being investigated for PEDs. And I remember that because they said when he was suspended, I think it was in the off season, they said that investigation was going on during the playoffs. So the thing is, if you're the NFL, you don't want this to drag out for years upon years, and even in the court system with Tucker suing the league because of this, that, and the other thing. You want to make sure that A, the investigation is extremely thorough, it's complete, and you know what happened so you can give the right amount of punishment here. But is what everything, did Tucker know that this was going on and that's the reason why he was missing so many kicks? I mean, hindsight's 2020, so you could say, yeah, maybe that is the case, maybe it's not the case. And maybe the Ravens did know about this before Baltimore got eliminated in the playoffs. There's a lot of things that we don't know, and I guarantee there's a lot of stuff that we don't know that we will never know. But DaCosta did say, I think I'm going to keep these comments to myself, which I think is a smart thing to do. Other than the fact that he spoke to Tucker, but at some point we did meet, and that was what I'm going to say about that now. I think that whether it's Harbaugh, whether it's DaCosta, whether it's anybody else on the staff or the players themselves, talking to the media about what you said to Justin Tucker would not help in the investigation because now you're questioning, well, did DaCosta give me proper testimony here? Did Harbaugh give me proper testimony? You know, I think what you talked about with Justin Tucker should be between the two parties that were in that conversation and also the NFL. Because the NFL should probably be the only people I know because, you may find out, and I'm not accusing, so don't say this is me. And, if you clip this part, I'll be deleting it. Um, because you never know. They may be hindering the investigation for whatever reason. I but I do think as well, whether it's DaCosta, Harbaugh, the special teams coach on the team, whoever, I think you have a right to know because you're their direct employer in a way. What happened? This is going to stay between me and you. We want to know what happened. We want to be prepared for when the NFL comes to us, if they haven't already. You want to make sure you're doing everything in your right. Chairman, welcome in. Hope you're having a good night out there. But I really think something did happen. And also, how is it that these 16 women so far, because I wouldn't be surprised if there's more, how is it, no matter how true or how false it is, hasn't said to the media that his dick is the size of a tic tac? I mean, is it because he did his own thing in the massage room, or are they covering up that you know he said Tucker said give me a happy ending and she obliged, or is this one of these up and up spas where they don't give happy endings? So many things can come into play here. Now, Harbaugh said he spoke to Tucker about a week and a half after the allegation surfaced. Yeah, because you're trying to see what you want to know what he has to say, and rightfully so because he's one of your players. It was just more from a perspective of being together all these years, kind of what he was going through. Now he handled it with his family. Okay, yeah, because remember, he probably was not married when this was going on in his first 5 years in the league. I'm sure he probably was dating his wife at the time, or maybe they were married. I don't know. I don't care. But the thing is, mostly every guy will have a few wild nights, have a few happy endings, whatever. But you have to realize that, you know, also when it comes to Justin Tucker, for example, he's a football player. He's not I mean, but he's a guy who can blend in. Whereas, like I said, like for example, Brittany Griner, she's 6'8" or whatever she is. She's not going to blend at an airport. Or you get Hornswoggle from WWE if he's still alive. He's not going to blend in either because he's 3'2". But if you're somewhere between 5 foot and 6'4", depending on your gender, yeah, you're going to, for the most part, you're going to blend in. But a lot of times, especially if these were all in the Baltimore area, you're going to recognize the name Justin Tucker. I guarantee you, at one of those spas, it's like, holy shit, Justin Tucker, that kicker for the Ravens, he's here. I highly doubt. Well, let me change that because depending on the type of spa it was. I mean, they did say it was a high end spa. Like, for example, you go to that place around my building at Redacted Company. There is a place there. We joked about it last night. I love massage. I don't think that's a high end spa, people, even though the signage is pretty cool. I mean, the signage is more high end than some of the other massage places in Chinatown. But whether they're high end, low end, you know, the thing is, I think he said, "Hey, an extra such and such for a little bit more." Probably said no. He probably had to finish himself off, because it did say here, um, um, it did say here that he was accused of sexually inappropriate behavior that included exposing himself, brushing some with his exposed penis, and leaving what they believed to be cream of some young guy on the massage table. So if he left it on the table, then that tells me he did it himself. But are the women denying that they did something because they kind of did it against his will, against their will, because we have to we have to do that and do that and give him happy ending. But whatever it is, you know there's always a line that you don't cross. Whether you talk about Trevor Bauer, whether you talk about Deshaun Watson, whether you talk about Justin Tucker, insert any other name here of a name of an athlete who's escaping me right now. We know something happened. Well, we know something happened because they claim some of his evidence was left on the table. But and rightfully so. And I think Baltimore would be doing this even if Tucker didn't get himself into trouble. Probably more along the lines of, all right, well, he is going to be 35, 36 years old when the season starts. So let's see if he still has it, because there may be a drop off after the season. Let's let's sign a free agent kicker. Let's draft a kicker in the later rounds or whatever. Um, but Harbaugh said we're looking at every position. Um, Justin's our kicker. We love him. I always expect him to keep going forever, but nobody goes forever. We know that. Father Time is undefeated. And eventually that tic tac will not rise. But I'm imagining that this occurred when he was not married, because we haven't heard anything about, the wife not doing anything or anything like that. So, but I think that a lot of what he did is worthy of an investigation. And they have to investigate it because you have a collective bargaining agreement, you have a code of conduct, you have all that. Now, you take the guy who you take the guy from the Eagles Packers game in January. He told the female Packers fan in front of him that he will see her next Tuesday. And her boyfriend, fiance, whatever he was, took video of it. Now, I don't think that they said, "Oh, we're getting his ass fired," because you don't know what he's doing. You don't know if he's already retired. You don't know if he has his own business. But guess what? You found out he worked for like a DEI type company, and he's doing the exact opposite of what his employer's philosophies are. So, gone. But the thing is, I mean, this would be even the case with chairman. Even if you don't have redacted company on your shirt, on your coat, whatever, they can trace you down. It's just that sometimes it's going to be harder than what it was with this guy. I mean, there's a reason why on my Facebook page, it says works at the Joe Quills show because I'm not giving my real employer information. And I try not to mention their name on a stream, but it slips out every once in a while, nor do I care. But the thing is, let's say I go on this rant for whatever reason. I could go to, I could go to work that Monday if they're ranting about something on Thursday night show, for example. Monday, it's like, see your manager in the office. Hmm. Oh, first of all, the manager's here. No, he's on the phone. Oh, then you have this investigation because you went off about something and somebody put two and two together, realized you actually work at this redacted company, even though you don't have the logo. People will do the work if they have to if they're really pissed off at somebody, even if he is a fellow Eagles fan, because some things just aren't right. And dropping telling her to see that he'll see her next Tuesday was a little unfair. Now, should they have worn Packers colors? No, but I understand why they did. Besides the fact that they're idiots, but you just got to realize that maybe you just realize that we're in a world where I could be standing here right now watching chairman of the board in person, even though he's about 800 miles away from me. He could be right in front of me, unbeknownst to him. I'd be sitting there, and the next thing you know, I just go boop with the button and I start recording. It's that simple. And with the fact that everybody has a smartphone, mostly everybody has unlimited plans, and even if they don't have unlimited plans, they can hop on to the Eagles Wi-Fi, or you can get on the Xfinity Wi-Fi or whatever Wi-Fi that's available in your area, upload it. I mean, we're kind of in a little bit of a Truman Show here, where in a way you're under viral cameras and everything. You're under cameras 24/7, 365, whether it's actual security cameras or little viral ones that we get at our wireless providers or wherever we decide to get our cell phones. So, but something did happen, and that's why the NFL is going to take their time. And truthfully, right now, with the season just ending 2 weeks ago, you may not hear that much about this story until July or August because suspending somebody in March when the season starts in September is useless. I mean, it was kind of like, I mean, it was as useless as locking players out for the most part for Major League Baseball a few years ago. Even though you will say to me, well, players couldn't sign. Well, that's the only effective thing it was. You know, players weren't going to camp for another 6 weeks anyway. So, they couldn't go to Florida, Arizona. They had to do their own workouts and whatever. But once we get to July or August, who knows? Maybe we will have results of this investigation. And they'll say, Justin Tucker, you get 9 games. And remember, Deshaun Watson probably had about double the women. He got 11. But everything within the union scope, it's about past practice and it's about progressive discipline and the right to grieve. And I guarantee you that he may find out in June that he's suspended for 9 games, but they won't even mention it to the media until Friday at 5 o'clock in July. Because guess what? They probably will go through the process with a lot of these appeals processes and grievances and stuff like that. Once it gets to the courts, yeah, then it will be out there all the time. But we know he did something. And if it's true they left his batter on the table, then so be it. But um, but something happened. We don't know the spas. It isn't like um, the Patriots owner. It wasn't like he went to Orchids of Asia. Well, we know what type of a place that was. Robert Kraft. It's been a long day, so names are escaping me right now. It's not a Joe Biden thing, but you know, Robert Kraft knew what he was going to. And I'm sure Justin Tucker knew the type of spa he was going to, and it wasn't one of those places like Orchids of Asia. And Justin Tucker decided, give me a little something extra, baby. But he crossed the line. He's going to have to pay now because you are an employee of the NFL and of the Baltimore Ravens, blah, blah, blah. And just like me at Redacted Company, if I were caught on a video punching somebody, if I have that logo on me, automatically that's going to go, somebody's going to say, I should contact Redacted Company and let them know about this video. Whereas if I don't have it, they'll still find out, just take a little longer, hopefully. But you get the idea there. So I need a little sorbet here. No, not that sorbet, perverts. Now, if Mike was here tonight and I said something like that after a story like this, I would I would say knock it off. I'm not talking about that, you pervert. But I do have a little bit of a sorbet here. Normally, we would have had this at the very beginning of the show, but the way that I structured this, it was just that all the Philly stuff I grouped together at the beginning because we had the sort of breaking news that the poop games are no more. So I had to put in the Eagles stories I had about them going to see Trump possibly, and also the fact that they're trying to ban the tush push. Personally, I say no, but normally this would have gone at the very beginning because it's a legend that's retiring. But I'm saving it to the end because we're going to save the best for last. Isn't that what Vanessa Williams said? Save the best for last. Well, at least she's still around. Unlike Roberta Flack, where the Grim Reaper killed her softly, allegedly. But Diana Taurasi announced today that she is retiring. And, would I have liked to seen her retire, announce the retirement like right near the end of the season? Yeah, but, I understand why because, I guarantee there was like, I want to talk to family. I want to talk to this. I want to talk to Gino Oriyama, who probably had an ear for her. And, I'm sure former teammates like Sue Bird and other people, her agent, everybody. I don't think it was something that she just totally made on her own, but it was like, what do you think? And she is the leading scorer in WNBA history. She was voted the greatest of all time by the league's fans, and up until last year, before Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and others went into the WNBA last summer, I would have told you before that it would have been about 12 fans. Now they're up to 17. No, I'm kidding. No, Caitlin Clark has been the boost that the WNBA needed, uh, but Diana Taurasi probably came into the league about 20 years too soon because she probably would have been even more highly regarded, even though she was highly regarded. I mean, she would probably be godlike or Michael Jordan like, but um, she announced today her retirement. She told Time Magazine today, mentally and physically, I'm just full. That's probably the best way to describe it. I'm full and I'm happy. And she decided to make the decision over time, which is a good thing. Because guess what? A person, an athlete like her, one of the greats of women's basketball, whether you just say just in the college game itself or you include the WNBA and wherever she played internationally for the number of years that she probably did play internationally, she has that right to make that decision over time. And what was it, like 4, 6 months after the WNBA finished? I think four. But, you know, she's one of the most decorated players in history, female basketball history, or basketball in general. She made an impact from her first time she stepped from the first moment she stepped on campus at UConn in 2000. She was still in the spotlight through the end of her WNBA career. She led the Phoenix Mercury to the playoffs last year, and she was the first player to ever get 6 gold medals in basketball. Just the longevity of that is amazing. Because 2000 would have been like 24, 20, 16, 12. Unless she was on the 2000, because I think they lost one in there. Um, but Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, called her one of the greatest competitors to ever play the game of basketball on any stage. Yeah, I agree. Um, she played 20 years in a record-setting career that saw her play 20 years, more points and more three-point shots made than any other player in WNBA history. She earned the unquestioned respect of players around the globe, delivered electrifying moments, and captivated fans again and again. You know, she did it on the court. You know, she did things the right way, and of course, when you play with Gino Oriami, you're going to have that foundation of playing the right way. Um, Taurasi scored 10,646 points, the only player to surpass the 10K mark in scoring in 565 regular season games, and scored another 1,476 and 72 playoff games. So I think eventually over time she will get past. Um, I just think that not only are you, I think the WNBA is scoring more points per game now because I think that the game has evolved enough over time. And also the fact you're playing more games every year and you're getting more teams, which probably means you're going to be playing even more games. So, um, but I think that eventually she's going to get past it. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, nobody's going to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar until LeBron did. Somebody's eventually going to pass Diana Taurasi because of the fact the WNBA is going to be playing more and more games every season. And also, the game has evolved where Caitlin Clark will make a ton of threes. You have other players that are going to make a ton of threes. You got Angel Reese that's going to have rebound after rebound after rebound and scoring. You got all these different players that can score all these points and eventually pass her, but you have to get to that point. It's a journey that you have to worry about. And also, you never know when a player's going to blow out their knee, for example, not just in women's basketball, but you never know when a player's going to get hurt in the NBA. See Embiid, Joel. We talked about it last night with Joel. I think that even if he wasn't an injury prone player, that type of injury does happen from time to time. Joel could be a person who had never been injured in the NBA or ever in sports when he played basketball. And when a player falls on your knee like that and nut shots you at the same time, and the nut shot doesn't hurt because him falling on your knee is what really hurt. And I think he came back too soon. I also think that the injury wasn't, um, I think the injury was more severe than what they let on. He wanted to play in the Olympics. That's what it was. But even with 10,646 points in the regular season, you're going to need, just on rough numbers here, you're going to need 11 years of 1,000 points. And I'm sure we are going to see numerous players, because there's going to be more WNBA games. I'm sure that's going to pass over time. You just got to give it a few years. But she was a league MVP in 2009, Finals MVP in 09 and 14. She also is the leader in three-pointers with 1,447 in the regular season, 215 in the playoffs. But she did all kinds of things there. She did get herself into trouble a couple of times, and um, where was it? Um, she did have an issue in Turkey with the drug test, it proved that the lab was not reputable, so she got off on that. But but for the most part, from what we know, very clean with everything. And I'm sure that probably somebody tainted that sample. Um, da, 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 da. Yeah, she was arrested for driving under the influence in July 2009. She was playing overseas in Turkey. She received a provisional ban for alleged use of a stimulant, but the lab conducting the test was discredited. So, but then again, most players will have some transgressions along the way, some more serious than others. It's going to happen. But she got the praise of everybody here. Sue Bird said, her former teammate, she has a way of making people feel connected to her, but also like the best version of themselves. Sandy Brondello, who is the Liberty coach, she coached her in Phoenix. She knows when she needs to take over. She knows when to get others involved. She knows when she just needs to whisper in their ear to get them going. When you see it up close and personal, you realize just the effect she has on her teammates, and they all look up to her. Um, but Gino Auriemma said that Taurasi had as much to do with changing women's basketball as anyone who has ever played the game. Uh, she won her first of her Olympic medals in 2004. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 18, 20. Yeah, so somewhere along the way there, they did lose a gold medal. So it wasn't 6 in a row, but she played in 7 Olympics. Um, but they voted her the GOAT during the league's 25th season, 2021, and rightfully so. I mean, I don't think there's as big as an argument right now who the GOAT is in women's basketball, WNBA basketball, whereas the NBA, a lot of people say, oh, it's got to be LeBron because he has 40,000 points and he played for 25 years. I'll tell you it's Jordan because he won 6 titles, never lost a final, and he could, everybody has their opinion on that. But there's no argument that Diana Taurasi is the GOAT, plain simple. And, she um, earned the right to retire the way that she did, and she took her time making that decision, and good for her. Um, I'm sure if her number hasn't been already retired by Phoenix, it will be, because she played her entire career there. Um, but that would have led our show tonight. But we're using it to end the show tonight because of the fact that we decided to talk about the poop games at the start. So, but yeah, so whoops, didn't want to do that. So that is going to be it here for this Tuesday night show. Chairman, thank you for joining me. Thank you, those on X, those on YouTube. Um, just see one thing here. I am going. You know what? I'm going to raid out here. I'm going to raid out to Brendan, 1996 Brendan. I know he bugged me a couple of times for a raid, and usually the nights that he would bug me for a raid, I was already going to Action Labs with it. But I'm going to raid him tonight. He is playing NHL 22 right now. Um, I'm going to give him. We're going to give him a raid because I owe him one, and we'll go from there. So, do appreciate everybody for watching, and those that are watching on those other platforms. If you come on over to Twitch, you can be part of the raids and things that we do here. Twitch.tv/Joe Quill. So, but we'll be back tomorrow night at 9 o'clock with another edition of Joe Quill Show, and also eligible on Saturday. We're going to be looking at Aqueduct, Gulfstream, and Santa Anita. At least 5 races. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. Brendan is next if you're watching on Twitch. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the winner circle. Have a great night, everybody.